The sky turned dark over Seoul on a Tuesday morning. It was not clouds or rain that blocked the sun. It was ships. Huge alien ships hung in the air like metal islands. People in the streets stopped walking. Cars stopped moving. Everyone looked, up with open mouths and wide eyes. Captain Kim Tae-ho stood on the roof of the United Earth Defense Force building. He watched through his binoculars as the massive ships positioned themselves over major cities across the globe. His hand shook, slightly as he lowered the binoculars. "Sir, we have a transmission coming in from the largest vessel," said Officer Song, her voice barely steady. Tae-ho nodded and followed her back to the command center. The large screen at the front of the room flickered and showed the face of an alien. Its skin was pale blue with ridges where eyebrows would be on a human. Its eyes were large and yellow with thin black lines for pupils. "People of Earth." The alien spoke in perfect English. "I am Supreme General Drekthar of the Varik Armada. Your planet now belongs to us. Surrender now or we will destroy your cities one by one. You have 6 hours to decide." The screen went black. The room stayed silent for several long seconds. "General," Park broke the silence. "Captain Kim, what are our options?" "Sir, our satellites show over 50 ships in Earth orbit. Each one is at least 3 kilometers long. Our missiles cannot reach that high with enough power to damage their hulls." As Tae-ho spoke, new alerts flashed across the screens. The aliens were landing smaller ships in open areas near major cities. "They're not waiting for our answer," Officer Song said. "They're already deploying ground forces." Tae-ho watched the footage from near Olympic Park. Round silver objects rolled out from the landing craft. They were tanks, but unlike any Earth had seen before. They hovered half a meter above the ground. They had no tracks, no wheels. They moved smoothly and quickly across the grass, over water, up hills. Each tank had a long barrel that glowed, blue at the tip. "We need to see what those weapons can do," General Park said. "Send a squadron to Olympic Park. Tell them to keep their distance and observe only." But keeping distance did not help. The squadron reported back 20 minutes later. The alien tanks had sensors that could detect humans from a kilometer away. When Korean soldiers tried to hide and watch, the tanks turned their barrels and fired blue beams. The beams cut through concrete walls, metal cars, and human bodies with equal ease. In the command center, military leaders from around the world joined an emergency video call. The Americans had tried airstrikes. The Chinese had fired their newest missiles. The Russians had used electromagnetic pulse weapons. Nothing worked against the Varik tanks. Their armor seemed to absorb or reflect everything thrown at them. "These aliens prepared well for this invasion," General Park said. "They knew exactly what our weapons could do and they made sure theirs were better." Tae-ho thought about this as the meeting went on. How did the aliens know so much about Earth's defenses? Had they been watching for years? Had they been here before? An old memory surfaced in Tae-ho's mind. He was 12 years old, visiting his grandfather's farm outside Seoul. There had been strange lights in the sky one night. The next morning, his grandfather found a wounded black panther in the woods. Not a normal panther. This one had been part of some secret government program, his grandfather explained. Its name was Baek, and it was special. Tae-ho excused himself from the command center and went to a private room. He called his sister, Park Ji-eun, who now lived at their grandfather's old farm. "Ji-eun, is Baek still alive?" he asked as soon as she answered. "Yes, of course. He's old now, but he's healthy." "Why?" "The aliens. I think they've been here before. I think Baek might have seen them." There was silence on the line. Then Ji-eun spoke quietly. "You should come here. There's something you need to see." Tae-ho looked out the window at the alien ship still hanging in the sky. "I'll try to get out of the city. It might take time." He hung up and returned to the command center. The world leaders had moved from planning defense to discussing surrender terms. No one had any solutions. "I need to check something," Tae-ho told General Park. "It might be important." The general looked tired. "Go. We'll be negotiating for days anyway. Not much else we can do." Tae-ho took a military jeep and headed out of Seoul. The roads were jammed with people trying to flee the city. He had to use emergency lanes and dirt paths alongside highways. It took him 4 hours to reach the countryside. His grandfather's farm looked the same as always. The old wooden house sat on a hill surrounded by rice fields. Behind it stood a large barn painted dark green. Ji-un was waiting on the porch. She hugged him tight when he arrived. "I never thought those animal experiments would matter again," she said. "Tell me everything," Taeho said as they walked toward the barn. 15 years ago, Grandfather found Baek injured in the woods. He had escaped from a government facility where they were creating enhanced animals, making them smarter, stronger. Baek was special even among them. He can remember everything he sees perfectly forever. Ji-un opened the barn door. Inside, laying on a bed of straw, was a large black panther. His fur had gray streaks now, but his yellow eyes were bright and alert. He looked at Taeho and made a soft rumbling sound. "He recognizes you," Ji-un said. Taeho approached slowly and knelt beside the animal. "What does this have to do with the aliens?" 3 weeks before Grandfather found Baek, there was a break-in at the facility. The scientists were killed. Equipment and research were stolen, and some of the test animals disappeared, including Baek's mate. Ji-un pulled out her tablet and showed Taeho security footage from the government facility. The video was old and grainy, but Taeho could clearly see 3 figures moving through a lab. They weren't human. They had blue skin and ridged foreheads. "Varric," Taeho whispered. "Watch," Ji-un said, pointing at the screen. In the video, a younger Baek attacked one of the aliens. The panther's claws tore through some kind of suit the alien was wearing. Before Baek could do more damage, another alien shot him with a weapon. The panther fell, and the aliens left him for dead. Baek survived. He escaped to the woods. And he remembered everything, Ji-un said. Taeho looked at the old panther with new respect. "You think he knows something that could help us against them?" "I know he does. Watch this." Ji-un showed Taeho to the back of the barn. On the dirt floor were drawings, complex patterns scratched by claws. They looked like technical diagrams. "He's been making these for months. I didn't understand what they were until I saw the alien tanks on TV today." She pointed to one drawing that clearly showed the round shape of a Varric tank. "He knows how they work. He remembers their weaknesses." Taeho knelt and studied the drawings. One showed the bottom of a tank with a specific spot marked by deep scratches. "All this time he was trying to warn us," Taeho said quietly. Baek rose from his straw bed and walked over to them. The panther looked into Taeho's eyes, and Taeho felt a chill. There was intelligence there, and something else. Purpose. Revenge. "He remembers them," Ji-un whispered. "And he's been waiting." The morning sun shone through the barn windows. Captain Kim Taeho had not slept. He spent the night studying the drawings Baek had made in the dirt. Ji-un brought him a cup of hot tea as they heard vehicles approaching outside. "Someone found us," she said, looking worried. Taeho peeked through the window. 3 dusty jeeps stopped in front of the house. Men in military uniforms stepped out, led by a small man in civilian clothes. "That's Lee Hyun," Ji-un whispered. He worked at the lab where they created Baek. Taeho went outside to meet them. The soldiers aimed their guns until General Park stepped forward. "At ease," the general said. Captain Kim called for help. Taeho looked confused. "No, sir, I didn't." "Call anyone." Lee Hyun stepped forward. He was a short man with thick glasses and messy gray hair. "I called them," he said. "When I saw the aliens, I knew they had returned. I tracked Baek's microchip." "Microchip?" Ji-un asked, joining them. "All test subjects had location chips," Lee explained. "Most stopped working years ago, but Baek still sends weak signals." Inside the barn, they found Baek watching them calmly from his straw bed. Lee Hyun approached the panther slowly and bowed to him as if greeting an old friend. "Hello, Subject B-12, he said softly. "You've grown old like me." Baek made a low sound in his throat, not threatening but cautious. "He remembers you," Ji-un said. "Of course he does," Lee replied. Beck never forgets anything. That was what made him special. Lee turned to face the others. We need to understand what happened 15 years ago. The Varric came to Earth in secret. They stole our research and some of our test animals. Now they're back with weapons built from what they took. General Park frowned. What kind of research creates animals with perfect memory? We were developing biological weapons, Lee admitted, looking ashamed. Animals with enhanced intelligence to carry out complex missions. Beck was part of a new group, memory keepers. They could observe enemy positions, equipment, or conversations and remember every detail perfectly. Tejo pointed to the drawings on the floor. He's been trying to tell us something about the alien tanks. Lee studied the scratches in the dirt with growing excitement. This is incredible. He's showing us their propulsion system. He pointed to circular patterns. These are the hover engines. And here, he pointed to a spot marked with deep scratches. This must be a weak point. While they talked, Beck rose and walked to a clear patch of dirt. He began scratching new marks with his claws. Everyone watched as a new drawing took shape. It's the inside of their tank, Lee whispered. He's showing us how it works. Beck continued drawing, adding more details. Lee took photos with his phone, his hands shaking with excitement. The Varric stole our research, but they never fully understood it, Lee explained. They took Bayek's mate, subject B-13, and other test animals to study. They learned how to create neural interfaces, direct connections between brains and machines. Like pilots mentally controlling their tanks? Tejo asked. Yes, but more. The Varric tanks aren't just controlled by their pilots. They contain biological components, actual brain tissue from our test animals. Jian looked sick. That's horrible. Yes, Lee agreed. And dangerous for them. Beck is showing us that these biological components still retain their original memories. General Park studied the drawings. So what does this mean for us? It means their technology has a critical flaw, Lee said. The biological components might recognize and respond to familiar neural patterns, like Beck's. A loud explosion interrupted them. The ground shook beneath their feet. Through the barn door they saw smoke rising from the nearby village. They found us, General Park said grimly. Everyone, grab what you need and get to the vehicles. Ji-Yoon rushed to Beck's side. How do we move him? He's too big to carry. To everyone's surprise, Beck stood up and walked calmly toward the door, as if he understood the danger. He knows, Lee said. He always knows. They hurried outside. In the distance, 3 Varric tanks moved toward the farm, hovering over rice fields and crushing the crops beneath them. Move now, General Park ordered. Head for the mountain caves. As they rushed to the vehicles, a Varric tank appeared at the top of the hill, cutting off their escape route. Its blue weapon glowed, preparing to fire. Beak suddenly bolted forward, running straight toward the tank. Everyone shouted for him to stop, but the Panther ignored them. What is he doing? Tejo cried. They watched in horror as Beck charged directly at the alien tank, but instead of firing, the tank's weapon dimmed. The machine stopped moving, as if confused. Beck circled the tank twice, then darted into the forest. The tank turned, ignoring the humans completely, and followed the Panther. He's drawing it away, Lee said with wonder. He knows they want him more than us. They used the distraction to escape in the jeeps, driving away from the farm and toward the mountains. After an hour of difficult travel on forest roads, they reached a series of caves that the military had prepared as emergency shelters. Inside, the main cave, General Park set up communications equipment while Tejo and the others worried about Bayek. We have to find him, Jiun insisted. The aliens will kill him. I don't think they will, Lee said thoughtfully. If they wanted him dead, that tank would have fired immediately. No, they want to capture him. Why? Tejo asked. Because he's a threat to them, Lee explained. He knows their weakness. And, if I'm right about their technology, he might be able to do more than just tell us about it. He might be able to exploit it directly. A soldier rushed into the cave. Sir, the Panther is here. They ran outside to find Bayek waiting calmly at the cave entrance. There was no sign of the tank that had chased him. "How did he find us?" General Park asked. "And where's the tank?" Lee examined Beck carefully. The Panther had a few scratches but was otherwise unharmed. He led it into a trap, Lee realized. "Look at his claws." Beck's claws had pieces of blue metal stuck to them, fragments of Varric technology. He remembered how to disable it, Tejo said with growing excitement, just like he showed us in his drawings. Inside the cave, they set up a proper area for Beck. Lee used a piece of flat stone and chalk to create a better drawing surface. With Beck's guidance, he began developing a detailed map of Varric technology and its weaknesses. "We need to share this information," General Park said. "There are resistance groups forming all over the world. If we can teach them how to fight these tanks, we might have a chance." Tejo looked at Bayek with new respect. The aliens thought they had all the advantages. They brought tanks and superior weapons, but they never expected us to have a Panther with perfect memory. As night fell, they received reports that more Varric forces were searching the mountains, specifically looking for a Black Panther. Special alien units had been deployed with equipment designed to detect and capture enhanced animals. "They're afraid of him," Ji-un realized. "Of what he knows." Beck sat in the center of the cave, watching them all with his intelligent yellow eyes. He wasn't just a weapon or a tool. He was a survivor seeking justice for what was taken from him. The Varric had stolen his mate and used her to build their war machines. Now, 15 years later, Beck had not forgotten, and he would make sure the aliens remembered him too. 2 weeks passed in the mountain caves. The small group grew as more soldiers and civilians found their way to the hidden base. Word spread quietly about a secret weapon against the alien tanks. People came looking for hope. Captain Kim Tae-ho stood at the cave entrance, watching new arrivals climb the narrow path. A woman led them, moving with the confidence of someone used to command. She was short, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Who is that?" Tae-ho asked a nearby soldier. "Colonel Na-yoon," the soldier replied with respect. She led guerrilla forces against the Varric in Busan before the city fell. Tae-ho went to meet her. Colonel Na saluted briefly, then got straight to business. "I heard you have a way to fight the tanks," she said. "Is it true?" "Come inside," Tae-ho answered. "See for yourself." The main cave had been transformed into a workshop. Lee Hyun worked at a table covered with parts from human and Varric technology. Soldiers built strange devices based on his designs. In the center of it all, Bayek watched everything from a raised platform. "Is that a Panther?" Colonel Na asked. "That is our edge against the Varric," Tae-ho explained. "His name is Bayek. He remembers how their technology works." Colonel Na looked skeptical. "A cat is going to save humanity?" "Not just any cat," Lee said, joining them. Beck was part of a special program. The same program the Varric stole to build their tanks. Their weapons contain biological components, actual brain tissue from animals like Beck. And that matters. Because these components retain memories, Lee explained. Beck can communicate with them. He can confuse them, even disable them temporarily. Colonel Na studied Bayek with new interest. The Panther stared back at her, his yellow eyes unblinking. "We've been fighting all wrong," she said finally. "Conventional warfare won't work against the Varric. We need to think like predators, like Bayek." Over the next few days, Colonel Na reorganized the resistance fighters into small teams. They stopped trying to attack the Varric directly. Instead, they watched, they waited, they learned patterns. "A Panther doesn't charge at a herd of deer from the front," Na explained to the fighters. "It picks one target, waits for the right moment, and strikes from behind." Lee Hyun completed work on their first weapon, a small device that could emit neural patterns matching Beck's. "It won't destroy the tanks," he warned, "but it will confuse them long enough for you to target the weak spots Beck showed us." Tae-ho led the first mission to test the new approach. His team of 6 fighters moved silently through the night toward a Varric outpost near Daejeon. They carried the neural device and special ammunition designed to penetrate the tanks at specific points. Beck could not join them, he was too valuable to risk, but his presence was with them. A Black Panther silhouette had become their symbol, painted on their weapons and worn as patches on their jackets. The Varric outpost had 3 tanks guarding it. The humans approached from downwind, moving like hunters. When they were in position, Tejo activated the neural device. The effect was immediate. The nearest tank stopped moving, its weapon turret spinning in confusion. The second tank began moving in circles. Only the third remained operational, but it turned away from the humans, searching for something that wasn't there. Now, Tejo whispered. The fighters fired at the exact spots Bayek had shown them, the junction points where the hover mechanism connected to the main body. The special ammunition burned through the metal like it was paper. 2 tanks crashed to the ground, disabled. The third managed to fire once before a well-placed shot hit its weapon control, causing it to explode. The mission was a success. They returned to the cave with parts from the destroyed tanks and, more importantly, proof that Bayek's knowledge worked. News of their victory spread through hidden resistance networks. Similar attacks happened in other regions. In Seoul, fighters led by Kang Jin disabled 5 tanks using the same method. In Incheon, another group captured a small Varric supply ship. Back at the mountain base, Lee Hyun studied the captured Varric technology to improve their weapons. He made a disturbing discovery when examining the biological components from the tanks. The neural tissue is degrading, he told Tejo and Colonel Na. The Varric didn't know how to properly maintain it. They're losing control of their own technology. Is that good for us? Tejo asked. It makes their tanks more unpredictable, Lee said. Sometimes easier to confuse, sometimes more dangerous because they might malfunction. Colonel Na saw an opportunity. We need to make them panic. If their technology is failing, we push them into making mistakes. They developed a new strategy. Along with attacking tanks, they began broadcasting images of Bayek across any communication system they could access. The Panther's silhouette appeared as graffiti on walls in occupied cities. Stories spread about a black ghost that hunted alien tanks. The Varric response was swift and extreme. Supreme General Drekthar issued new orders to all his forces. Find and capture the Black Panther at any cost. Reward units that found information. Punish those who failed. Varric patrols increased around the mountain regions. They used special scanning equipment to detect enhanced animals. They questioned captured humans about Bayek. Their obsession with finding one panther pulled forces away from other areas, creating openings for the resistance. Ji-Yoon worried as she watched Varric ships flying over the mountains from the cave entrance. They're getting closer, she told her brother. Tejo nodded. We knew they would, but their focus on Beck is helping resistance groups everywhere else. They're scared of him, Ji-Yoon said. Not just what he knows, but what he represents. Their whole invasion is built on stolen technology they don't fully understand. Inside the main cave, Colonel Na met with leaders from other resistance groups. They planned a coordinated assault on the Varric command center in Seoul. It would be their biggest operation yet. The Varric are stretched thin searching for Beck, Na explained. We have a chance to hit them where it hurts. But as they planned, a young scout ran into the cave, breathing hard. They found us, he gasped. Varric special forces are coming up the mountain right now. Everyone moved quickly, grabbing weapons and essential equipment. Lee Hyun carefully packed his research and designs. How did they find us? Tejo asked. They've been capturing and torturing resistance fighters, Colonel Na said grimly. Someone talked. Beck seemed to understand the danger. He paced restlessly, near the cave entrance, looking out at the forest path. We need to evacuate, General Park ordered. Move everyone to backup Site B through the tunnel system. As people rushed to follow his orders, Beck suddenly stopped pacing. His ears flattened against his head. He made a low growling sound that everyone had learned to recognize as a warning. Tejo looked out and saw movement in the trees below. Varric soldiers in special armor moved silently toward the cave. Their helmets had sensors that glowed in the dim light. They're already here, he whispered. Colonel Na quickly organized their defense. We need time to get everyone out through the tunnels. Beck walked to Tai-Ho's side and nudged his hand. The Panther looked at him, then at the forest path, then back at him. I think he wants to help, Ji-Hyun said. Lee Hyun understood first. He wants to lead them away. Give us time to escape. It's too dangerous, Tae-Ho argued. They want him more than anyone. That's exactly why it will work, Colonel Na said. If they see him running away, they'll follow. Tae-Ho looked at Beck. The Panther's yellow eyes held steady. He wasn't afraid. He was ready. Okay, Tae-Ho said finally. But I'm going with him. We'll lead them away, then circle back to meet you at Site B. Ji-Hyun hugged her brother. Be careful, Tae-Ho grabbed a small pack with supplies and his rifle. He and Bayek slipped out a small side entrance to the cave while the others prepared to move through the tunnels. As they emerged into the forest, Tae-Ho felt a strange calm. He was about to run directly toward danger with only a Panther at his side. Yet somehow he felt they had the advantage. The hunter and the memory keeper moved silently through the trees, ready to be seen just enough to draw the Varric away from their friends. The real war was just beginning. The forest was dark and quiet. Captain Kim Tae-Ho moved slowly, following Beck through thick trees and over rocky slopes. Behind them, Varric soldiers searched with lights and sensors, getting farther away from the cave hideout with each passing minute. Good job, Beck, Tae-Ho whispered. They're following us, not our friends. The Panther led him to a small stream where they stopped to drink. Tae-Ho checked his map in the dim moonlight. They needed to circle around to reach Site B, the backup hideout. It would take most of the night. Suddenly, Beck's ears perked up. He turned his head, listening to something Tai-Ho couldn't hear. The Panther growled softly and nudged Tai-Ho toward a dense patch of bushes. You want us to hide? Tai-Ho asked. Beck's yellow eyes blinked once, which Tai-Ho had learned meant yes. They crawled under the bushes just as a bright light swept through the trees. A Varric scout ship moved slowly overhead, its sensors scanning the ground. Tai-Ho held his breath as the light passed over their hiding spot. Beck remained perfectly still. The ship continued on, moving toward the east. That was close, Tae-Ho whispered when it was gone. How did you know it was coming? Beck just stared at him, with those knowing eyes. After 15 years of life, the Panther had senses far beyond human abilities. They traveled through the night, avoiding 3 more Varric patrols. At dawn, they reached a waterfall that hid the entrance to Site B. Behind the falling water was a narrow path leading to another cave system. Inside, Tae-Ho was relieved to find the others had arrived safely. Ji-Hyun ran to hug him, and even Colonel Na looked pleased to see them. You made it, she said. Good. We have work to do. The new hideout was smaller but better hidden than the previous one. Lee Hyun had already set up his workshop again and was examining something on a table. Come see this, he called to Tae-Ho. We captured it during the evacuation. On the table was a Varric communication device. It was still working, receiving messages in the alien language. I can't understand the words, Lee said. But I've been tracking signal patterns. Look at this. He showed Tae-Ho a map where he had marked locations of Varric communications. There was a clear pattern. All signals led back to one point. Their central command ship, Lee explained. It's still hovering over Seoul. Everything is controlled from there. Colonel Na joined them. If we could disable that ship, it would throw their entire invasion into chaos. Disable a massive ship? Tae-Ho asked. How? The same way we disable their tanks, Lee said, excitement in his voice. Their ships use the same technology, biological components controlling key systems. Beck approached the table and looked at the communication device. He made a low sound in his throat, almost like he was trying to talk to it. He recognizes it, Ji-Hyun said. Maybe he knows how it works too. Lee nodded. I think all their technology comes from what they stole 15 years ago. They've just made it bigger, more powerful. But the basic principles are the same. Over the next 3 days, resistance leaders from across Korea gathered at Site B. They shared information and planned their biggest attack yet, an assault on the Varric command ship. Colonel Na called it Operation Midnight Hunt. The name came from Bayek's hunting style, patient, precise, and deadly. We cannot attack the ship directly, Na explained to the gathered fighters. It's too heavily defended. Instead, we will use their obsession with Beck against them. The plan was bold. They would create multiple distractions across Seoul, drawing Varric forces away from the command ship. Then a small team would infiltrate the ship through a maintenance hatch identified by studying Varric designs. Lee Hyun had created a new device based on his research. This is more powerful than our previous neural disruptors, he explained. It contains a complete copy of Bayek's neural patterns. When activated, inside their command ship, it should temporarily disable their central systems. How temporarily? Taeho asked. Maybe 10 minutes, Lee admitted. Not long. Long enough to plant explosives at key points, Colonel Na said. We've identified 4 locations where the ship's biological components are likely housed, Taeho. Studied the plan. It was dangerous, maybe impossible, but it was their best chance. What about Beck, he asked. Is he part of this mission? Lee and Colonel Na exchanged looks. That's the most difficult part, Lee said slowly. Beck's neural patterns work well for our devices, but they would be much more effective coming directly from him. Ji-yeon shook her head firmly. No, we are not sending him into that ship. We might not have a choice, Taeho said quietly. The Varric want him anyway. We could use that. The discussion went on for hours. In the end, they developed a compromise. Baek would be part of the mission but would not board the ship. Instead, he would be nearby, amplifying the signal from Lee's device. As preparations continued, General Park received an unexpected message from other resistance groups around the world. The Varric invasion was facing problems everywhere. Their tanks were malfunctioning more frequently. Some had even turned against their Varric operators. The biological components are breaking down faster than expected, Lee confirmed after studying new data. The Varric don't know how to maintain them properly. This news added urgency to their plan. If the Varric realized their technology was failing, they might take desperate measures. The night before Operation Midnight Hunt was to begin, Taeho found Bayek sitting at the cave entrance, looking up at the stars. He sat down beside the Panther. Are you ready for tomorrow? He asked, not expecting an answer. Beck turned to look at him. For a moment, Taeho felt like the Panther was trying to tell him something. Those intelligent eyes seemed to hold a message. You've been waiting for this, haven't you? Taeho said. 15 years remembering what they did, what they took from you. Beck made a soft rumbling sound and nudged Taeho's hand. I understand wanting justice, Taeho said, or revenge. But remember, we need to help all humans, not just get back at the Varric. Ji-yeon joined them, sitting on Beck's other side. He knows, she said softly. He's not just fighting for himself. He's part of our family now. The 3 of them sat in silence, watching the stars and the distant lights of Varric ships moving across the night sky. Morning came too quickly. The resistance fighters prepared their weapons and equipment. Teams headed out to their assigned positions across Seoul. The central team, Taeho, Colonel Na, Lee Hyun, and 3 skilled fighters, prepared to approach the command ship with Beck and the neural device. As they were about to leave, Ji-yeon hugged her brother one last time. Come back, she whispered. Both of you. Taeho nodded. We will. The small team moved through hidden tunnels beneath Seoul, navigating the ruins of the once great city. Above them, the massive Varric command ship blocked the sun, casting an eternal shadow. Its curved metal hull stretched for kilometers, hovering silently over the destroyed buildings. Beck moved with confidence, leading them through the safest paths. The Panther seemed to sense Varric patrols before they appeared, giving the team time to hide. As they reached the final approach to the command ship, Taeho took a moment to check the neural device one more time. Everything depended on it working correctly. The Varric came here thinking they were invincible, he said quietly to his team. They brought tanks and ships and weapons we couldn't match, but they never expected us to have Beck, a Panther who didn't forget what they did and who knows how to fight back. Colonel Na nodded. Let's show them why you should never underestimate humans or the animals who stand with us. The team moved forward, slipping through the shadows toward the massive ship. Above them, Supreme General Drekthar remained unaware that his greatest nightmare, a Black Panther with perfect memory, was directly beneath him, ready to bring down everything he had built on stolen knowledge. Operation Midnight Hunt had begun. The morning sun could barely break through the clouds and smoke over Seoul. Captain Kim Tae-ho and his small team crouched behind a broken wall, looking up at the massive Varric command ship hanging in the sky above them. It was huge, like a metal island floating in the air. First team reports ready, Colonel Na whispered, touching her radio earpiece. Distraction starts in 5 minutes. Tae-ho checked his equipment one more time. He had explosives, climbing gear, and the special neural device Lee Hyun had built. The device was their most important weapon. It contained a copy of Bayek's brain patterns, designed to confuse the biological components inside the Varric ship. Beck sat beside him, calm and focused. The Panther's black fur had more gray streaks now, but his yellow eyes were still sharp and clear. He seemed to understand everything about the mission. Remember the plan, Tae-ho told his team. We place the device in the main control room, then set explosives at the 4 key points Lee identified. We have 10 minutes to get out before everything goes down. The ground suddenly shook as explosions erupted across the city. The resistance fighters had attacked Varric outposts in 3 different areas, drawing forces away from the command ship. That's our signal, Colonel Na said. Move now. They ran through the ruins, staying low and moving fast. Overhead, Varric ships rushed toward the explosions, ignoring the small humans below them. The team reached the landing strut of the command ship and began to climb. Lee Hyun had identified a maintenance hatch that would let them enter the ship undetected. It took them 15 minutes of careful climbing to reach it. Tae-ho used a special tool to open the hatch, and they slipped inside one by one. Beck jumped in last, landing silently beside them. The inside of the Varric ship was strange. The walls were smooth metal with blue lights running along them. The air smelled different, cooler and cleaner than the smoky air of Seoul. They moved carefully through narrow corridors, following the map Lee had created based on captured Varric data. The central control room should be 3 levels up, Tae-ho whispered. They found a lift and rode it upward, weapons ready. When the doors opened, they were face to face with 2 Varric soldiers. The aliens had blue skin and were taller than humans. Their yellow eyes widened in surprise. Before the Varric could react, Beck leaped forward with incredible speed. He knocked both aliens down without making a sound. The team quickly tied them up and hid them in a storage room. Beck is worth 10 soldiers, Colonel Na said with respect. They moved faster now, knowing their presence might be discovered soon. The corridors became wider and the blue lights brighter as they approached the center of the ship. Finally, they reached a large door with Varric writing on it. This is it, Tae-ho said. The central control room. They set up positions on either side of the door. Tae-ho held the neural device, ready to activate it. Colonel Na prepared to open the door. On 3, she said. 1, 2, 3. The door slid open and they rushed inside. The central control room was huge, with screens showing views of Earth and space. About 20 Varric were working at control panels. At the center stood a tall Varric with special armor and many decorations. Supreme General Drekthar, Tae-ho whispered. The Varric turned in surprise, shouting commands. Guards raised weapons, but before anyone could fire, Beck stepped forward into the middle of the room. Everything stopped. The Varric stared at the Black Panther in what looked like fear. Drekthar himself took a step back. The memory keeper, he said in heavily accented English. Finally, Tae-ho activated the neural device. It made a high humming sound as it powered up. Beck moved closer to it and the hum grew louder. The effect on the Varric ship was immediate. Screens flickered, lights dimmed and brightened randomly. The Varric soldiers grabbed their heads as if in pain. It's working, Colonel Na shouted. Set the explosives. The team moved quickly, placing charges at key points around the control room while the Varric were confused. But Supreme General Drekthar fought through the effects. He pulled out a weapon and aimed it at Bayek. "You will not stop us," he growled. "Your kind were meant to serve us." Teho fired his rifle, hitting Drekthar's arm. The Varric general dropped his weapon but lunged forward, grabbing the neural device. He tried to smash it, but Beck jumped on him, knocking him away from the device. The two faced each other, the Varric general and the Panther. It seemed like a moment Beck had waited 15 years for. "Your mate helped build this ship," Drekthar said to Beck, as if the Panther could understand him perfectly. "Her brain patterns form the core of our navigation system. She serves us even now." Beck growled, a deep sound that made everyone in the room freeze. The neural device hummed louder, and something strange began to happen. The ship's systems started to respond directly to Bayek. Screens showed images of another Panther, a female with the same enhanced features as Bayek. "What's happening?" Colonel Na asked. Lee Hyun, who had been setting explosives, looked at the screens in wonder. "The ship recognizes Beck. It's connecting him to the biological components. To his mate." Teho understood suddenly. "This isn't just about disabling the ship. Beck is trying to free his mate." The neural device glowed brightly. Beck stood over it, his eyes focused on the screen showing the female Panther. The ship's systems began to change, overriding Varric control. Drekthar shouted commands, trying to regain control. But his own officers were now turning against him. One by one they stepped back, lowering their weapons. "Your empire is built on theft and lies," Teho told the Varric general. "You stole our research, our animals. You never understood what you took." The ship lurched suddenly, warning alarms sounded. The neural device was causing more than confusion now. It was breaking the Varric control over their own systems. "We need to leave," Colonel Na said. "This whole thing is coming down." "Not yet," Teho replied, watching Beck. The Panther was still, focused on the screens, communicating somehow with the ship's systems. The images showed storage tanks opening, biological components being released from their containers. Lee Hyun understood first. "He's not just disabling the ship. He's freeing all the test animals they used. The biological components are being released from their mechanical prisons." Supreme General Drekthar made one final desperate move. He lunged at Beck with a hidden knife. But before he could reach the Panther, something strange happened. The floor panels beneath him moved, wrapping around his legs and trapping him. The ship itself was protecting Beck. "The ship is under new management," Lee said with a smile. "Orders went out from the command ship to all Varric forces. Screens showed Varric tanks stopping, ships landing, soldiers laying down weapons. The invasion was over." "We should still set off the explosives," Colonel Na said. "Make sure they can never use this technology again." Teho looked at Bayek. The Panther turned to him and blinked once. "Yes. Let's go," Teho said. They set the timers and left the control room. Drekthar remained trapped, shouting threats no one listened to. The team moved quickly through the ship, heading back to the maintenance hatch. Around them, the ship was changing, systems shutting down in preparation for landing. They reached the hatch and climbed down to the ground just as the ship began to descend slowly. It landed gently in what had once been a large park in the center of Seoul. As the ship touched ground, hatches opened all over its hull. Varric soldiers walked out with hands raised in surrender. Later, as resistance fighters secured the area, Teho found Bayek sitting calmly at the main entrance to the Varric ship. The Panther was waiting for something. A smaller hatch opened, and a single figure walked out. It wasn't a Varric. It was another Panther, older with gray fur but moving with the same grace as Beck. Her yellow eyes scanned the area until she found Beck. The two Panthers approached each other slowly, cautiously. They touched noses, smelling each other. Then the female Panther made a soft rumbling sound that might have been a purr. "His mate," Ji-yoon whispered, having just arrived with reinforcements. "She was alive all this time." Teho nodded. "He never forgot. 15 years and he never stopped looking for her." The two Panthers walked side by side away from the ship, away from the humans, heading toward the mountains and forests beyond the city. Should we go after them? Colonel Na asked. No, Tejo said. They've earned their freedom. We all have. In the days that followed, the Varric surrender spread across the world. Their entire invasion had collapsed when the command ship fell. Earth began to rebuild, using the advanced technology left behind but being careful not to repeat the Varric's mistakes. Sometimes people in the mountains would report seeing two Black Panthers watching their villages from a distance. The animals never caused trouble, just observed with intelligent yellow eyes before disappearing back into the forest. Tejo knew it was Beck and his mate, the Panthers who remembered, who had helped save humanity, and who now deserved to live in peace. The galaxy had brought tanks, but Earth had a Panther who didn't forget, and that had made all the difference.